Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday morning. My name is Heather. For those of you who don't know me, I am a fitness and sports instructor at 8 Wing CFB Trenton. This morning, we will be going through a flexibility and mobility fusion class. So some tools that I have that I'm going to be using a little bit today are a mini band and a foam roller. So feel free to follow along even if you don't have the equipment. There's lots still that you'll be able to work your way through. Feel free to work at your own pace throughout today's class. So if there's any stretches or mobility drills that I ask you to do that don't work for you, feel free to modify with anything that you need to. I will give different levels for certain things that we work through this morning. So make sure that you're working at your own pace. Feel free to take a break and grab a drink anytime that you need to. I won't be giving kind of clear cut water breaks. So anytime that you feel like you need a sip of water, please feel free to grab that. I'm not going to be playing any music on my end, so if you want some music on in the background, that would be a great addition to this morning's class. I'm just going to be going through a quick disclaimer before we get started, so that can also be found in the notes or the description of this video. So the links that I'm going to be talking about you can find in there. In response to COVID-19, PSP is offering virtual fitness to Canadian Armed Forces members. By using social media platforms, the virtual fitness classes tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel become accessible to all. Participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members recognize and acknowledge that their age, health status, and physical fitness level are unknown, and it's entirely up to each individual to assess their ability to participate in this class. Since it is preferable to consult your physician before beginning any exercise program, we invite all participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members to consult the Get Active questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document. If you experience any pain or difficulty during the exercises presented in this video, it is recommended that you stop and consult a healthcare provider. If CAF members sustain an injury during this video, please remember to fill out SCF 98. All right, so that pretty much covers it for the before class info. So as I said earlier, if you're just tuning in, we are going to be using a mini band and a foam roller a little bit in today's class. If you don't have either of those things, feel free to still follow along. There's going to be a lot that we can work through without that. So we will head over to our mats now. So I'm going to start with my mini band. So I'm just going to use this kind of as a tool to warm up our hips a little bit more before we get right into our mobility drills. Especially if we're already a little bit tight, having our legs and hips a little bit warmed up prior to doing some of those mobility drills will work in our favor rather than starting completely cold. So I'm going to put my mini band on just above my knees. All of these things that I'm working through with the mini band can be done just body weight only, so feel free to just go through the movements with me just using body weight. So I'm going to use my mat kind of as my distance. So I'm going to start by bringing my feet out a little bit wider than hip width apart, and I'm just going to do some forward and back walks along the length of my mat. So coming into a little bit of a bend in the knees and just trying to keep those knees out wide. I'm going to walk forward the length of my mat and then reverse it all the way back to my start position. I'm going to do that 2 more times all the way through. Just keeping it nice and slow and controlled. Feeling those hips and glutes start to warm up already. Perfect. So still using the distance of my mat as my travel area. I'm going to start at one end. Feet are going to start together. I'm going to come into that little bit of a knee bend, so kind of like a little bit of maybe even just a quarter squat. And I'm going to step out, feet together, step out, feet together, and one more. And then all the way back. Do that 2 more times, getting about 3 steps across my mat each time. Perfect. One more. I almost forgot that third one. It is early. Perfect. From here, I'm just gonna come into the center of my mat, and I'm gonna do 5 squats with the mini band. So just starting up nice and tall, feet are about hip width apart, maybe a little bit wider, and we're trying to keep that distance in between our knees, not letting our knees kind of cave in, really using that band to help us focus and get that distance, maintain that distance between our legs. So come on down through that squat and back up. We're gonna do 4 more. One more time. Perfect. I'm gonna bring those feet a little bit closer together. From here, I'm gonna keep one foot steady, and I'm gonna step back on about a 45-degree angle with my other foot. So I'm gonna take that step back, so I'm getting tension in that band, coming back to center to tap. Back on that 45, back to tap. We're gonna do 10 on each side here. Let's do 2 more this side. And switching over to that other leg. 10 on the other side. I don't know about you, but my hips and glutes are definitely feeling warm. Perfect. I'm going to keep my band on for one more exercise. I'm going to keep it on as I come down to the mat. We're going to work through a bridge. So our feet are going to be about hip width apart on the mat. With the band on, it's adding that additional tension. So we're trying to make sure that we're keeping our knees in line with our hips as well. So not letting those cave in with that pull from the band. So let's go on down to our mat. Place those feet down. We're going to do 10 here. So coming up, squeeze through the glutes and lower all the way back down. 10 banded bridges. Keeping that tension on the band. Let's do 3 more here and then we'll get rid of that band. Perfect. So I'm going to slide that band off. If you need to sit up to do that, feel free to. I'm just going to set that band off to the side. We will not need that anymore. And then from here, we're going to come into a fully reclined position, so straightening out through those legs. And let's pull one knee in towards our chest. So it's really squeezing that knee in. And we're going to take that hip into some hip circles or hip rotations here. And let's take those hip circles the other direction. Bring that knee back through center. We're going to hold on to it with the opposite hand, and we're just going to pull across our body, coming into a little bit of a twist. So we're going to try to keep our shoulder blades in contact with the floor on this first one. You can keep this hand on top of that knee, or you can extend out to the side as well. Not worrying about how far this leg is draping over at this point, so don't worry about trying to get your knee to touch down or anything like that. And then rotate those hips back through center. Let's pull that other knee in and take that side into some hip circles here. take those circles the other direction. Coming back through center. And then let's drape that leg over our bodies, trying to keep our shoulder blades down on the floor at this point. Pull that leg back through center, and we're going to extend that leg all the way out along the floor. From here, we are going to come onto our side and then rotate all the way over so that we're in a tabletop position here. So we're going to come through the hip mobility drill next. So we're going to go through some hip cars, so controlled articular rotations. So essentially the goal is to try to take our hip through the end ranges of motion in that circular motion. So what it's going to look like is starting in that tabletop position. We're going to start by kind of closing the distance between our ankle and our glute here. So we're going to try to keep that position, flex through the foot. We're going to pull our knee forward to start and then go all the way out to the side. Come all the way up and around and back through center for one rotation. So we're going to try that 3 times in one direction, and then we're going to switch the direction of that. So we're really trying to push those end ranges. If it's painful at all, just kind of reduce the circle just a little bit. So we'll start on one side, pulling that knee in, going all the way around, trying to keep your hips relatively level. So if there's too much movement on the other side, we want to try to minimize that. We'll do one more this direction for me. Then we're going to reverse that. So heel drives up first and comes all the way back through that start position. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So bringing that heel towards the glute to start, pull the knee up towards your chest, out to the side, come all the way around. Kind of working at your own pace, keeping it controlled. Perfect, we'll reverse that. Bring it back through center. Nice job. All right, we're going to come into some thoracic spine mobility next. So hands are underneath the shoulders. We're going to bring our hand up towards the side of our head. Let's point that elbow up towards the ceiling and try to look up to that elbow. And then bring that elbow back down towards the opposite wrist. Elbow up, look up. And back down. One more time on this side, elbow up, look up, and as we come down, we're going to take that hand off of our head, slide it in between our arm and our leg, take that other arm, extend up towards the top edge of your mat. With that arm extended overhead, we're going to slide it back in towards our head, press ourselves back up into a tabletop position, and we're going to go to the other side. So hand up to the side of the head, point that elbow up and look up, and bring that elbow back down towards the floor. Point the elbow up, look up, and come on back down. One more time, point that elbow up, look up, and then bring that hand off our head, sliding in between the arm and the leg, get the shoulder down, get the head down, reach that other hand up towards the top edge of our mat. With that arm that's extended overhead, we're going to slide that back in towards our head. Use that hand to press ourselves back up into that tabletop. So we are going to add the foam roller in a little bit here. Again, if you don't have a foam roller or access to a foam roller, you can do some of these just without. So if you are not going to use it for very long, so you can, for this next one that we're going to do, you can use the edge of a couch or a chair or something to get kind of the same effect that we're going to get from the foam roller. So we're just going to open up through our chest, through our lats, through our shoulders. So we're going to bring our hands on top of the roller. Starting from a kneeling position, we're going to press that roller away. And then thinking about pressing our chest down towards the floor, keeping our neck neutral. And then we'll pull ourselves all the way back up. We're going to do that 2 more times. Press that roller away. And go pressing our chest down towards the floor. And roll back up. We'll do that 1 more time. Press the roller away, pressing your chest down towards the floor. Keep your neck in a neutral position. And come on back up. So we're going to take our roller onto our upper back next. So for this one, if you'd like to do any kind of upper body stretches instead, to kind of give yourself an option while we're working through the foam roller, we are going to take the foam roller onto our lats. So basically, it's a really small movement that we're going to be working through. Essentially, you're coming from into your armpit, down towards the middle of your shoulder blade, but sort of still staying on the side of your body. So we're going to come on top of that roller. And I'm just going to move through that small range here. This is generally pretty uncomfortable. So do your best to just breathe through it. If it feels really awful, really painful, ease off of it. So don't put as much weight down into the roller. This is probably one of my most favorite and least favorite foam roller exercises to do because I'm often left with some bruising, so don't be surprised if you have some of that after using a foam roller. Good, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. job. Okay, we're gonna take the foam roller onto our backs next. So if you don't have a roller, if you have like a pillow or a rolled up towel, you can at least do the portions where we're leaning back over the roller on this next one. So essentially you're gonna place the roller just behind your lower back and kind of lean into it. We are going to start off by rolling up and down on our back. So we're going to be moving from that first position kind of down by our lower back all the way up to just underneath our shoulder blades. So we're not coming all the way up into our upper back or into our neck, definitely not up into our neck. Working through that range, kind of stopping just below the shoulder blades. So we'll start off with that. So you can lift your hips up off the floor and just roll through that range to start on the roller. And from here, we're going to place our hips back down, bring the roller to that start position. And we're just going to ease ourselves back over the roller. So if you can't go as far back and have your head touch down, no worries. Kind of work through what you can. So hands can be over the chest, behind the head, whatever kind of works for you. And you're just going to ease back over the roller once you've gone as far as you're comfortable with. Come all the way back up. And then we're going to slide the roller just down a little bit on our back, so kind of coming into the middle of that range. And then we'll lean back over the roller again. Come back up. One more time, we'll move the roller down slightly. Come back over that roller. And back up. Perfect. From here, we're going to go through that motion one more time. So we're going to start off with that roll up and down on the roller. So at your own pace, kind of work through that to start. Good. And then from there, going through our 3 lean backs. Nice job. So a few more things with the roller before we get rid of it. So we're just going to work through our glutes next. If you want to, after class, continue on and do your quads, hamstrings, into your calves. Feel free to work through that, but we're going to just finish off with glutes using our roller and go through a few more mobility drills afterwards. So we're going to sit up on the foam roller just on one side. And just thinking about your glute, you're just moving from top to bottom, not coming down into your hamstring, not coming up too high, so you're coming into your lower back at all. And we're just working through that range, seeing if there's any tension or kind of some pressure points. If you do find something, somewhere where you want to maybe spend a little bit more time, feel free to stop there and do a little bit of pressure release if you would like. Nice job. So staying kind of in the middle of that glute, we're now going to move side to side across that muscle. So if you are in the middle of your glute, doesn't really feel like it's doing much of anything, just maybe adjust up or down slightly with that roller. Perfect. We're going to move to our other side. Yes, Liv? What's that?
Can you try to stand the iPad up?
Yes, I can. Here. Technical difficulties. Can you say hi? No? I don't know what you've done here. So still working through that glute. I don't know, kiddo, I can't help you right now. Maybe I can. This is how it goes. There you go. Right like that. You taking my band? For 45 minutes of iPad time today coincides with teaching. Do what you can to keep them busy when working from home. And then from here we're going to work side to side. Perfect. We are going to get rid of our foam roller here. And we are going to come through some more hip mobility drills, or glute stretches, if you will. So we are going to start in a seated position here. We're going to pull one leg in. So we're hugging that knee in, trying to sit up nice and tall. And we're just going to flex and extend through the foot of our extended leg here to kind of start. Just working through that ankle mobility. You can add some circles through that ankle as well if you'd like. Take it the other way. And from here, we're going to lift this foot up off the ground. And we're going to try to hug this leg in, kind of rotating through that knee. So we're going to bring this foot to the inside of our opposite elbow. So we're going to slide our arm underneath. And it's still trying to maintain that nice upright position while hugging that leg in. And we'll release that side, extend out, pull that other leg in. So starting out with flexing and extending through the foot of that extended leg. Maybe adding some ankle rotations there. Other way. And from here, we're going to bring this foot in. We're going to try to cradle that leg in. So we're going to bring our foot to the inside of our opposite elbow, hugging that leg in. And trying to maintain that upright posture. And release that leg out. Okay, so from here, we are going to cross our legs. So if this is not comfortable for you, modify as needed. So if you'd rather come into extended legs and do some forward folding from here instead, that's always a great option. So starting from that cross-legged position, we're going to bring our hands out in front of our legs. So if this is as far as you can go, totally fine, stay here. If you can, I want you to start trying to walk those hands out away from you. As we breathe, with each exhale, maybe trying to reach a little bit farther out. every time. Walk those hands back in towards you, then across the legs, recross the legs, bring those hands out in front, and walk those hands away from us. Walk those hands back in. So what we're going to do next is an ankle mobility drill. So if you have any knee issues or you're on a hard floor and it's going to bother your knee to be in a kneeling position, feel free to double up your mat or maybe grab a towel or a blanket or a pillow to have under that back knee. It's always a great option. So what we're going to do is we're going to be kneeling on one leg. We're going to step our other foot forward, but we're going to kind of bring it out at a little bit of a 45-degree angle. So our knee that's extended out is bent at 90, our hips are facing forward, and our leg is kind of out on that 45-degree angle. So bring your hands just behind your lower back. If you have a weight, you can also weight this exercise. We're going to lean into that ankle, keeping that foot flat, and we're going to just try to pulse a few times here. And then this time we're going to stay. So we're going to lean into that ankle. So if you're tight through the hip flexors, you might feel that in your hip flexor of that leg to start. And release that. So we'll bring that leg into a kneel. Other side, so kind of on that 45-degree angle as well. We're going to pulse into that leg a few times. Just trying to kind of push that end range on that ankle. And then we're going to stay here and hold. My end range, as you can see, is not the best, but something that I'm actively working on. Perfect. So we'll bring that back into a kneel. From here, we're going to keep our legs extended out, or our feet extended out. We're going to try to sit back on those feet. So getting a nice stretch through the shins, through the ankles. And we'll just try to hold here, roll those shoulders back, nice tall through the posture. And from here, we're going to lift up off those feet. We're going to tuck our toes underneath and get a stretch through the arch of the feet. So if you're really tight through the feet, this might be pretty uncomfortable. So ease really slowly back into it. So toes are tucked under. We're slowly going to ease ourselves back to sit back on those heels. So if this is really painful for you, back up out of it. Feel free to come back into that extended foot position. And come on back out. Okay, so from here, we're going to come back into our tabletop. We're going to come through a few cat-cow stretches. So kind of coming back to our spine a little bit. So tuck the chin, tuck the tail, round the back up. And then drop the belly button towards the floor. Scooping out through that back the opposite way. Tuck your chin, tuck your tail. And drop the belly button towards the floor. Back up through center, we're going to bring our shoulder and our hip together on one side. And back through center. Move to your other side. And back through center. One more each way. Back through center. And other side. And back through center. Okay, so from here we're going to try to move through all four of those. So working through the range of motion that we get through cat-cow and through that side bend as well. So if you imagine your spine like a rope, imagine it is a big skipping rope. So imagine there's two people on either end of your spine, and you're going to try to make your spine move like a jump rope would. So you're going to start by pulling your chin and tailbone in, spine rounds up, come over to one side, come down through cow, and then over to the other side, back up through cat. Do that 2 more times. And we'll go the other way. So starting with cat, go over to one side, come down through cow, over the other side, back up to the top. 2 more. And one more time. Perfect. Come back to that neutral spine. From here, we are going to transition onto our backs. So you can just kind of sit back on those heels. We're going to bring those feet out in front of us. And then we're going to land our feet down. Let's walk our feet out a little bit wider, so hip width or even a little bit wider than hip width would be fine. And from here we are going to just let our knees fall side to side. So hands can just kind of be resting down at your sides. Let those knees fall and move side to side here. Just kind of going at your own pace, whatever feels comfortable for you. From here, we are going to roll onto one side. So knees are going to be stacked on top of each other. Arm is extended out in front. Other arm is stacked on top. We're going to put our head down. And we're going to open up through that hand, trying to get that hand to reach all the way back. Look out towards that hand. Bring that hand all the way back around, touch in front, and we'll slide that hand just kind of across our chest. Let's rock those knees side to side a few more times. And then we'll land on that other side. So knees are stacked on top of each other, hands are stacked on top of each other. We're going to lay our head down, open up through that arm, looking out behind you. Bring that arm all the way back around, and then we're going to come back onto our backs through center. So from here, Feet are about hip width apart. Let's cross one ankle over our knee. Then we're going to let both knees drop to one side. So the foot that's crossed over, or the ankle that's crossed over, we're going to drop to that side so that that foot can come down towards the floor, and that top knee is kind of pointing up towards the ceiling here. And just thinking about pressing that knee away from you, kind of towards that back wall. And back up through center, and then drop the second side. So still keeping the ankle crossed over the same way. That top foot is just kind of on top of that bottom knee now. Back up through center. We'll take that ankle off that knee, cross the other one over top. We're going to let our feet drop to the side we were just on so that that top foot can come down towards the floor, pressing that top knee away from us. Back up through center, drop to that other side, so ankle is now on top of that bottom knee. Come on, back up through center. We'll uncross that ankle off that knee. We are going to pull our both knees in and just do a little bit of a side to side rock here. Massaging up that lower back a little bit. And whenever you feel ready, you can either roll up to seated or come over onto your side. So that is going to be it for class today. If you have any questions about any of the stretches or mobility drills that we went through today, feel free to ask your questions, any questions that you have in the comments, and I will get back to you later on. If you're looking for more virtual classes, you can find the full national virtual schedule on CAF Connection. It has a list of all the classes and which bases are running each class. If you have any questions about personal programming or anything to do with the Southside Gym, feel free to send us an email at 8wingpspfitness@gmail.com. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Have a great week. See you next time.